Y'all, we are in that good old book today. I mean, y'all know the good old book, the good old Bible. I mean, I really love how God just really just leads me into realizing like what's going on, like what he's doing when he's in the midst of doing things when we don't know what he's doing, but he shows us through his word when we actually open it up. Sometimes we'd be like too lazy because I know I get like this sometimes, but I was reading the verse of the day, and they were in Hebrews, and he was talking about the punishment of certain people. Okay, so remember in the other video I was talking about how the leaders will be punished, the false leaders are going to be exposed. All of this, they already been exposed. We already know that because most of us who are chosen, we be knowing, because like we have that spiritual discernment where the Lord is actually in us, and we can decipher from the real from the fake. Okay, we can decipher. We know. We be knowing. So my divas and my divas, hey boo hey, we are back again talking about this good old word, okay? Because God is, he's leading us to Hebrews 10 and 26, okay? But we're going to go on down to the rest of them too, like the rest of the scriptures too. We're going to keep going. And he's talking to his dear friends. So he says dear friends, but I'm going to say dear divas and divas, hey boo hey, okay? He says, if we deliberately continue sinning after we have received knowledge of the truth, there is no longer any sacrifice that will cover these sins, okay? Hopefully he's not speaking to you, okay? Hopefully this is what he's speaking to the leader. So if you know someone who's a leader who is false, who's potentially out here just trying to save lives to get wealth, save lives to get popularity, we ain't out here doing that. But these are the ones he's speaking to. He's speaking to these false leaders. He says there is only the terrible expectation of God's judgment and the raging fire that will consume his enemies. So there's a raging fire that will consume these people because of the wickedness, things that they've been doing to try and, fool the very elect, because, a lot of them have been fooled. And it's because of a lot of the people that are considered leaders, and some of them are false leaders. Not every leader is a false leader. Let me say that again. Not every leader is a false leader, but if you know, you know. If you know, you know, okay? And he also says, for anyone who refuses to obey the law of Moses was put to death without mercy. Do you hear me? I said without mercy on the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. See, by law back then, you had to have 2 or more witnesses in order for a person to, be put to that sentencing. Okay, you had to have some people that was behind it. Like, look, we want them to be like that, because you know how they did Yeshua, right? You know how he was with them. They was with him. They either wanted to do what was the guy name? Was it Bartimaeus? I might be getting the person's name wrong, but I'm gonna put it inserted here. Or Yeshua. Which one are you going to choose? They didn't choose the one that was really guilty. They chose the one who was actually peaceful, who was out here slaying them demons. See, they was pissed off because, God actually exposed their demons. They was pissed. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. See, these are leaders who are out here exposing demons, and they want to persecute the very people who are filled with God's anointing. We're out here saving lives. We're out here doing the real thing. We're not out here trying to get wealth from it, because see, even God says, remember when you didn't care about when you lost everything. Even I'm gonna get to that part of the word though. We're gonna keep going. He also says that they were put to death without even a witness. It was just that. That's how bad the punishment was. We don't need no witnesses. We just about to put them down. You know what I'm saying? Because God says vengeance is mine. God says vengeance is mine. Okay, but let's keep going. Just think how worse the punishment will be for those who trampled on the Son of God, which is Yeshua, and have treated the blood of the covenant, which made us holy, as if were common and unholy. Like they treated him like he wasn't nobody, basically, is what he's saying. And disdained the Holy Spirit, who brings God's mercy to us. For we know the one who says, see, this is what God said. He says, I will take vengeance. Okay, let's just stop right there. God says he will take vengeance. For one, he also says, I will pay them back. See, many people have actually said, God didn't do that. Like, some people said there is no God. Some people said, that's not true. That's just a fairy tale. Those that say that, God says, I will pay them back. I will pay them back. He's paying back those who actually consider themselves to be leaders. I mean, even if you're not a, quote unquote leader to when it comes to, standing on someone's podium, you could be a leader. A person can be a leader amongst a group. So let's just say you got your favorite people, like you got a whole group of people, right? And then they got this one person that everybody looks up to. That's considered a leader as well, but doesn't have to be a public leader. But this is someone who could be just, someone who's a leader of a group. Okay, let's just say there's a group of friends, there's a group of cousins, there's a group of aunties, and everybody looks up to this one particular person. And that person may not be the person who they say they are. They're not who they say they are. You know what I'm saying? They're really just doing the most. They're just making it look like they're a leader, that they're good people, that they're actually connected to the Most High God, and that everything that they're doing and everything that they receive came to God from God. But all in actuality, behind the scenes, they've been working up witchcraft, trying to get wealth and increase their, the things that they want to get what they want, or to get people to like them. Let's just say, they did beauty spells or people to love them. This is a person that bewitches another person or a group of people to get people to love them, to get people to lust over them or like them. Those are leaders. And God is like, he said, I'm paying them back. He says, I will take vengeance. I'm not playing. This time around, he's not playing. For him to keep sending me to these verses and these scriptures concerning those who are in judgment, because, we just did a video before this. Concerning judgment. And now he's really getting into the grip of like how he's going to reap vengeance upon them. He also said the Lord will judge his own people. Even the very elect. Because like I said, even the very elect have been fooled by Jezebel spirits, have been fooled by people who are not really considered God's people. They just making it look like they are. You know how they do. They try to camouflage and do all that, incognito, trying to be all holy. But see, we know that these people aren't who they say they are. They say they're one way, but we know, but God even knows, even if we don't know, even if we're kind of naive as to not knowing, God knows. He knows. And see, he said, Hebrews 10:31, it says, it is a terrible thing to fall into the hand of the living God. It's a terrible thing to fall in his hands. Like this is basically him saying, you fell into the hands of the enemy. You allowed him to use you and persecute you. Your enemies allowed the enemy to use them. But when you fall in the hands of God, it's way more, it's much worse. It's way more vengeance. It's way more punishment and judgment on your enemies who will be consumed. These people, they try and put themselves as a reflection of, I lead the people, I am loving. But in all actuality, y'all see these reality shows, y'all see these shows that we see. For instance, I watched the movie Beauty in Black, by Tyler Perry. I was really, really shocked at everything that went down and went on in that series. And I was like, girl, what is Tyler Perry doing? Like, what's really going down? But remember when the wife, they didn't even like each other at home, baby. They was cussing each other out. They was fighting. They was doing all kinds of stuff. But when it came to being presented before people, I love you. And they're kissing each other. They're making it look, presenting themselves before the people. But see, behind closed doors, they were not. They were actually defeated. They were defeating themselves. It says a house divided cannot stand. A house that is divided cannot stand. And that's why everything happening in that family anyway. But that's the same thing when it comes to these groups and these organizations, these people who are considering themselves God's people, but behind closed doors, they're fighting and bickering. They're doing things and things are happening. There's deaths. They're actually doing witchcraft. They're doing wickedness amongst the people. We don't know about it, but we know. But I'm saying the people don't know about it. But when they get in front of other people, they're leading, or they're in front of, on the podium, preaching to other people. And I promise you, I ain't against no type of preacher. I love the preachers that's gonna do what's right, okay? None of us are perfect, but those that are misleading people on purpose, and they know who they are. They know who they are. Those that are misleading people on purpose, I don't like that. Let's just not do that. Let's not sit here and try and fool people just to get to what you want, to get to where you're at or where you're trying to go. Fooling people, you're fooling God. You're not fooling God. Let's just say that. You're trying to fool God. And that ain't about to happen. Okay? So most of these people who have done this are falling in the hands of the living God. And these are also people who sit in the congregations. And these are people who sit and, look and present themselves in their household, as people of God. These are the same type of people we're speaking of. These are people that are at the job who consider themselves saying, yes, God gave me this. But all behind the scenes, they started their whole business on the foundation of the enemy, are doing things that the enemy have spoken into their life, are doing wickedness, doing some type of witchcraft to bring prosperity to them. See, God also says here, he says, think back on those things. Think back on those early days when you first learned about Christ. Remember how you remained faithful, even though it meant terrible suffering. Sometimes you were exposed to public ridicule and were beaten, and sometimes you helped others who were suffering with the same things. You suffered along with those who were thrown into jail. When everything you owned was taken from you, you accepted it with joy. You knew there were better things awaiting for you that will last forever. See, that's how it was, y'all. I ain't gonna lie. Like when you first come to God and you say, I surrender my life to you, even if you take this away from me, even if you don't allow me to keep this, I'm gonna still be joyful because I love you. I love being in your presence. I love being around you. But these fake and false leaders, these people who are presenting themselves as children of God, and they're not. They're the ones who's like, no, I got to hold on for dear life. I got to move in my own. It's actually them using their free will. It's not them surrendering to God. They have to try to do things in order to keep those things going when in all actuality, everything belongs to God. Everything. He's the one who's moving everything. So when they start to see all of this falling, when he said in the beginning of this video, when he said that I will take vengeance and I will take revenge, I will pay them back, he wasn't playing. And that goes for us too. If we're the ones who's out here, faking it, it's the same thing. It's no different. God is not the type that's just like, okay, I'm gonna just set y'all to the side. But if we're out here doing the same thing, he's gonna do that too. But see, we know that we're trying to do what's right. We're still remembering that even if the Lord takes things from us, even if we don't have the month's rent ready and, when it's due, if we don't have the light bill ready, if we don't have the insurance ready, everything that came together, we're not going to be the ones to sit here and try to do it in our own energy, in our own power. We're not supposed to. But sometimes we can get kind of, sidetracked and be like, I got to try to do this. I got to try to do that. I got to try to make this end meet. But that's us trying to trust in what we're doing, what we can do. But when we trust in him, he can make it to where you can pay it late, but he gonna bring that money to you. It's gonna come on at the time that you need it. Come when God wants, in God's timing. It's gonna come when he says, like, okay, this is when I want it to come. This is when I wanted to give it to you. And it's gonna come right on his timing. In his timing, he will do it. But those that are wicked, who have been doing and refusing to obey the Most High, they're refusing to obey what, and do right by people, do right by God's people. I mean, because these people have ridiculed those who are actually in poverty right now. I've seen even videos lately saying, it was like a pastor saying that you shouldn't give to the poor because that's going to take from you, but the word of God says when you give to the least, you're giving unto me, give to the poor, give. Okay. You have to give it, and it's just what we're supposed to do. But now that we are in times where people are only being selfish, they're moving in their own ego. Those are the times where people are actually starting to move in the realm of the enemy. They're allowing the enemy to use them. It's just like when Jesus was on the mountain, the enemy came to him and he said, if you worship me, I will give you the world. I will give you everything you want. And see, that's what they hear. And they hear like, okay, I will give you this if you do this. I will give you this. But they're not obeying or listening to what the Lord wants them to do. They're not consulting with God, going and asking, is this okay? They're not asking. They're just going to do what they want to do. That is not what it is. That's when God comes in and he says, I will take revenge and I will pay back. He's paying back your enemies. Trust and believe. He's paying back those who have taken from you, those that ridiculed you, those that counted you out, those that didn't want to give to you when they knew you was in need, those that didn't want to call you when you was going through grief, when you were grieving your loved one. They didn't call to check on you. They laughed. They either didn't want to call you, they didn't want to talk to you, they did not accept anything that was happening to you. So they just kept going about their own, worrying about themselves. You got to understand, God don't like that. We have to treat others the way that we want to be treated. And see, some of these people have already mistreated you. They've done you dirty because they wanted what was theirs. They wanted to be in their own ego. They wanted to do what they wanted to do. They like, child, I don't have time for this. Some people say misery loves company. And when some people are miserable, they look at you as you're miserable if you're going through it. Okay? But it's also that you're actually going through what God is putting you through in order to get you to your next level. But they look at you and say, I ain't trying to talk to them. I'm not calling them to console them while they're grieving. I'm not calling to console them or give them money because they're moving in poverty. They don't have the right mindset. They're just so, they're so sad. It's so sad. I'm not going to even be around it. I can't be around negative people. But see, when you saw them going through what they went through, you was there. Because you have the heart of God. You have the mind of God. You know to give. You know to help. You know to love. You know to reach out. You know to be there. But when you started to realize that they were doing selfish things in order for not to be there for you, that's when you backed down. That's when they started to call you the bad guy because you wasn't there no more. But that's what they do. That's what they do. They will tend to start to call you the bad guy. They will be upset with you because you're not there for them anymore. But what happened when they weren't there for you? What happens when they weren't there to pity you? That's what Jesus, that's what God is saying in this word. He said, how much more of a punishment do you think will those get that actually persecuted Yeshua? They did not see him as the child of a king. They didn't see him as the king of all kings. They didn't see him as that. They treated him poorly. That's the type of energy they're giving you. Like you're not really worth the time. You're not worth their prayers. Let me just keep it moving. Let me keep moving because right now I'm on my A game. I'm looking good, baby. I'm trying to glow up. I'm trying to be, with the Joneses. I'm trying to be up there with the people that got it. They don't forgot about you. They don't forgot about the chosen ones. They don't forgot about God's people, but they consider themselves God's people, but they're not willing to be there for God's people. See, that's why we, even in our own self, we have to realize we need to be there for each other. Remember, God says iron sharpens iron. That means we're there to help each other out. We're there to help strengthen each other. But the false leaders, the false people that you have been dealing with are not going to do that. That's not what they're doing. They're like, I'm trying to glow up. Baby, I done leveled up. I don't have time for them. Misery loves company, and I ain't miserable. That's them. But see, like I said, in the word of God, it says, I will take revenge and I will pay them back. But you, my dear, God is going to bless you. He's going to bless you with the finest of things. He's going to heal your broken heart. He's going to heal you from the grief that you went through. He's going to restore your finances where you felt like you were living in poverty. He's restoring it all. He says the first shall be last and the last shall be first. I will give unto your bosoms. I'm going to give to you pressed down, shaken together, overflowing. You will receive that. So understand and hear me when I say this. Don't ever allow what other people have, how they treated you, these leaders, especially. Like I said, sometimes we can look at leaders and put them on a pedestal. And when they start to treat you differently, you think it's something wrong with you, but it's not. It's just that they were false leaders, that they're childish leaders. As it said in Isaiah, they're childish leaders who don't care anything about God's people, but they were put there to care about God's people, but they were not doing it. They were being childish. I don't care how young, how old, they're childish leaders. But you, my dear, God is trying to get you to the point where he wants to prosper you. He's blessing you. He's about to place the table before you in the presence of your enemies in front of those leaders. He's like replacing the leaders that are on the podiums. He's replacing them with those chosen people who have suffered long enough. He's blessing you. He's about to bless your game, and you better get ready for it. Big period, big period, big period. And Mary had a little lamb. Y'all already know what it is. I love you guys, my divas and divas. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Peace. Now I just know y'all don't went and got my book, The Burning Bridge. Y'all don't went and got my book, right? I got several of them and they ready to be shipped to you today. Okay? So make sure you go and get this book. All you gotta do is look in the description bar below or look on the description in the bio, okay? Go over there and get your book today. You're gonna love this. This is gonna help you to realize that God is still in charge. He is still moving in your life. So many blessings on top of blessings you're gonna realize when you read this book, because you do not have to suffer alone, okay? I love you. Thank you. Make sure you go and get it. Go ahead and get it. Peace and blessings.